California in previous years was at the pinnacle of government budgets. It's like they had stimulus check after stimulus check and that they just couldn't run out of money. Now, if we fast forward to 2023 and they're now running on a deficit, and to make things even worse, many households in the state of California are being forced to line up to food banks. And this is now causing a huge ripple effect in the statewide Food Bank Association, warning of a catastrophic hunger crisis. How much are chips nowadays? How about cheese, cereals, meat? Are we at a point where we're seeing prices go down? Because I'm hearing that things are getting better and that we're so much better off today compared to a few years ago. Do you guys agree with that thought? Just comment a quick yes or no on that one. And hey, can you explain why you answer that way? Because I love reading those kind of comments. Our reports seem to be stuck in a time loop as billions of dollars of goods, they're just stuck due to a bottleneck. And here I thought that we were beyond this health crisis and actually had the supply chain running smoothly. It's been 3 years since students have had to pay off their student loans, and now that another pause is unlikely, we're about to see just how much money that they've set aside for this very event. Do you guys think that most can pay it off now, or are more of them going to continue to struggle? No time like the present, folks. Let's get right into the updates. Also, for the very best way to invest in gold or silver, check out the links in the description down below of this video. So, quote, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau warns that 1 in 5 student loan borrowers have risk factors that could cause them to struggle when their bills resume, end quote. That doesn't sound too good, does it? With the federal debt ceiling deal done, students can't expect to have any more pauses to their payments. And so this means that the 3-year pause, it's going to end, and there's not a lot that could be done about it. And so this also means that about 40 million Americans are probably going to be facing these student loans by September of this year. Now you got to think that within those 3 years, they should have set aside some money, right? But as it turns out, more than 1 in 13 holders of federal student loans are behind on other payments. A spokesperson for the CFPB, or the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, has said this, quote, these borrowers might be unable to make payments on their student loans if they're already missing payments on credit cards or auto loans, which research suggests people often prioritize over their student loans, end quote. Now you got to realize that their load was a tad bit lighter within these past few years, but given the economic weather, many of them weren't able to catch up at all. You now have to analyze, were they just hoping that we would foot the bill for this one? Something that seems unlikely, because I really don't think that this forgiveness plan will actually go through the Supreme Court. Or do you think that they tried to catch up but just couldn't make enough money? You guys tell me on that one. Oh, since I think that this is somehow connected to the story, I read recently that the U.S. Department of Defense announced $2.1 billion in security assistance to be sent overseas. Even more money that does not help the average American here at home. You want to know what we're seeing at home? Food banks running out of supplies as more households are forced to line up.
This is so crazy to hear the need that you're seeing. People thought at the end of the pandemic, things would get better.
Yeah, it's actually a myth that the height of the hunger crisis was during the pandemic. In fact, the hunger crisis is now. We're seeing a 20 to 40% increase in the number of people coming to our food pantry network seeking food assistance. Some of our pantries are reporting that people that haven't needed help in over 10 years are coming back because without the free food that our pantries provide, they're not able to meet their needs.
Can you believe that? It's like we got monopoly money for everybody else, but when it comes to the United States' own citizens, suddenly the money dries up. You guys have played Monopoly, right? Now I feel like we're stuck in jail where we can't pass go to collect $200 and we don't even have the $50 to get out of jail. Meanwhile, all these people, they've got all the good chance cards, especially this one. But anyway, I'm pretty sure you guys understand what I'm trying to say here. California food banks are now set to face a hunger crisis this year as more people are now visiting them as an alternative due to some benefits being cut this year. CalFresh, the food stamps program in California, they have now dropped for many households. Some receiving at least $281 before is now getting around $23 as the health crisis has come to an end. And again, we talked about the debt ceiling, right? While some of us won't even read the bill, it definitely affects a lot of us. Lauren Lathan-Reed, Director of Communications at the California Association of Food Banks, said that she's worried about what options will be left for the people, especially as some of these benefits will now have some work requirements. She said this, quote, often when people receive less CalFresh benefits or are kicked off the program more permanently, they turn to food banks to make up the difference. So we're concerned what the debt ceiling agreement will mean for our food banks, end quote. California has a $31.5 billion budget budget deficit. So I'm pretty certain that the state won't be able to do much, which means that more and more people are going to have to make do with whatever they have, since supply is sure to be short while demand will skyrocket. Now, speaking of supplies, were you guys aware that there's at least $5.2 billion in cargo stuck in our West Coast ports? So Kyle Henderson, CEO of Vision, a container tracking company, he said, quote, "Our data shows that vessels will continue arriving at West Coast ports in the coming days with significant amounts of cargo to unload. There's no indications at this time that ocean carriers have plans to cancel any sailings to these ports. If these labor disputes continue to affect port efficiency, we could see backlogs similar to those that we experienced during the pandemic." Now, obviously, that's the last thing that any shipper wants as we turn the corner in the back half of the year and the peak season, end quote. What's he talking about? Well, dock workers aren't showing up for work, with retailers and shippers now asking the president for help since negotiations with the union, they're not going so well.
Labor disputes at the West Coast ports from California to Washington are causing a massive bottleneck of ships that are waiting to be processed.
Yeah, and as a result, billions of dollars worth of cargo is instead not on land and stuck in containers off port limits, triggering new concerns over supply chain disruptions. Data from Marine Traffic shows that the number of shipping containers waiting off port limits, which is a term of art here, of Oakland, Los Angeles, and Long Beach rose to 86,000 last week. That figure is double what it was the previous week, so moving in the wrong direction there.
That's right. The combined value of all that cargo is roughly $5.2 billion. If dock workers and port operators can't agree on a new contract soon, economists say the impact on the U.S. supply chain will be devastating.
Now, understand what you guys are thinking. Why is this a huge deal? Well, let me tell you. The basic rule in business is that you have to make a profit, and everything that you purchase or spend money on will roll over to your customers. You guys are already getting it, right? So just how much more are these shippers spending on gas, on manpower, on their time spent in these ports? How much more money will truckers spend as well? Because this is how they make their profits. They can't do this out of the goodwill of their hearts. They'd be out of business. So who then is expected to cover the offset budget? Do you have a mirror? If you do, look at it, because you're looking at the person who will likely be spending so much more because of all of this. I would really be surprised if it doesn't affect inflation. But as I always do in my videos, I always leave the judgment to you guys. Do you guys believe that the hard times are over and that we're now in full recovery mode? Or are we knee deep in this garbage with little to no help? Share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Budgeting is becoming even tougher these days, but you know what would help? If we were making more money. I think that's about obvious, isn't it? If we were making more money, cash flow is certainly an issue that many households in the country continue to tackle with. But were you aware that side hustles, home-based businesses, and small businesses could potentially generate multiple streams of income? That's right, so long as you find the right niche. Now, you can also make your money work for you, especially if you're invested in real estate, invested in the stock market, ETFs, index funds, or even investing in gold and silver. I know it's a little bit intimidating to get started with these different things, so, feel free to drop me some comments down below if you'd like me to make videos covering these topics a little bit more. If you want a head start with the right knowledge, gotta go to a good source. Financial freedom is within reach, folks. Just gotta grab it. And right now, you should see 2 videos above my head. Go ahead and click on these videos and check these out now. And before I go, please do me a huge favor by dropping a like on the video, share this video with all of your friends, and definitely subscribe to the channel for your daily dose of the truth. Appreciate you guys watching. I'll catch you on the next one.